the day before receiving the permit. Since the wedding bedroom needed final confirmation regarding the soft furnishings, I arranged to go to our new home with my boyfriend Hechuan, with whom I had been in a relationship for 7 years. I waited for an entire morning in the new bedroom, but he came in instead, along with his intern, Su Chu Chu. Su Chu Chu had red eyes and said, "Sister, sorry to make you wait so long. Let's check the furniture together." I asked, looking at the fingerprint records that only the two of us had access to. "How did she get in?" Hechuan replied. "Chu Chu was kicked out by the landlord. She has nowhere to stay for now. The wedding bedroom is still empty anyway." I decided to let her stay here for a while. Before I could say anything, he quickly entered Chu Chu's fingerprints into the main bedroom. "Anyway, we're getting married soon, so there's no need to rush into living there right now. It's not easy for a girl like her living in Jiangcheng. I thought it would be a good deed to help her out." I didn't say anything, just watched as they laughed and picked out the bed. Then I turned and removed the agent from the blacklist. "Brotherly, this house, including all the hard furnishings, is being sold at a low price." Intermediary Brotherly was clearly surprised by my sudden removal from the blacklist, and he replied immediately, "Miss Lin, are you sure? This room was purchased at a lower price. Now, selling it could definitely generate some profit. There's no need to worry about that. The price is 15% below the market rate, so it's being sold at a quick sale." After typing those words, I locked the screen of my phone and looked up towards the living room. Hechuan was lying half-sitting on the 2-meter-wide wedding bed in the main bedroom, while Su Chu Chu sat on the other side, her face red as she gently pressed down on the mattress. "Brother Chuan, this bed is so soft." Hechuan turned his head around, smiling affectionately. "It's good that you like it." That bed was the result of 3 months of searching all the furniture stores in Jiangcheng, until I finally found a custom-made bed from an independent workshop. The bed frame was made of black walnut wood, and the mattress was a latex model that I tested on 17 different mattresses before choosing it. Even the handles of the bedside cabinet were made from brass pieces, designed by me based on my own drawings. When he said, "As long as you like it, that's fine," his tone was exactly the same as the time he told me, "Jiua, I'm really relieved that this household is in your hands." I leaned against the doorframe, silent. Su Chu Chu suddenly looked up at me, jumping out of bed like a startled rabbit, her voice trembling. "Jiua, I was just trying out. There's no other meaning to it." Hechuan frowned, then sat up and patted her shoulder. He turned to me and said, "Can't you be a little more gentle? Chu Chu was kicked out by the landlord, and all her things are still lying around outside." I didn't react at all. Su Chu Chu continued, lowering her head and clutching her fingers. "Sister, I'm scared to stay alone tonight. Besides, I don't know anyone in this neighborhood. Chuan, can you stay with me for a while so I can get used to it? Just for one night." Without thinking, Hechuan took out his car keys from his pocket and threw them to me. "You drive back to the rental house first. We can postpone the process of getting the license for a few days. We'll wait until Su Chu Chu is settled in before proceeding. Postpone it for a few days. Tomorrow is the date we've arranged to get the license. It's also the 7th year that we've been together." This date was marked with a red circle in the calendar, accompanied by the words "a 7-year commitment, the only one of its kind in this life." I watched him busy himself with pulling down the curtains and adjusting the air conditioning temperature in front of Su Chu Chu. Suddenly, I felt a lump in my throat. It wasn't anger, it was a dull pain. "Okay." I said just one word. Su Chu Chu's eyes lit up instantly, and she rushed towards Hechuan with excitement. "Thank you, Brother Chuan." Hechuan smiled as he dragged her suitcase into the main bedroom, without even looking back. I turned around and walked out of the door. The fingerprint lock clicked behind me, and the door locked. In the elevator going downstairs, I turned on my phone and filled in the details of the listing. 98 square meters, fully furnished, located in a prestigious school district. All appliances and furniture are included. The only requirement is to pay in full within 3 days. Otherwise, you can take possession of the house right away. Brotherly sent me a voice message, filled with confusion. "Miss Lin, this price will probably attract people within an hour. Do you really want to sell it?" "Yes, I really do." "Okay, I'll put it up for sale right now." It was already late at night when I returned to my rental apartment. The 16-square-meter room was dimly lit, with water stains on the walls. On the table lay a book about photography and planning, with our photo on the cover. It was something I worked on all night last week, even drawing out the photographer's position plan. I sat down and flipped through the pages. Then I tore the book into pieces and threw it into the trash can. At that moment, my phone lit up. It was a screenshot from Su Chuchu's social media post. In the photo, she was wearing the custom-made gown I had designed for her wedding, smiling at the camera. The caption read, "I'm borrowing the beautiful dress of the future bride. Brother Chuan said I look perfect in it." I stared at that screenshot for 10 seconds. That dress was custom-made in Shanghai 3 months ago. The tailor measured over 40 different sizes for me. The shape of the neckline, waistline, and shoulder angles were all adjusted to fit my body. When Su Chuchu wore that dress, there was a large gap in the waist area. I used clips to attach it to the back. And when taking photos, I deliberately only shot the front view. But what I really noticed wasn't the dress itself, it was the reflection in the mirror behind her, where I saw Hechuan leaning against the door frame, smiling as he took photos of her. I closed the screenshot, opened Su Chuchu's WeChat profile picture. Long pressed the screen to block this contact. Then I pressed my phone screen down onto the table. Today is the day we've arranged for the marriage certificate ceremony. The Civil Affairs Bureau opens at 9 in the morning, so I arrived there at 8:40. The deep autumn in Jiangcheng is already very cold. I wore that beige coat that Hechuan said looked good on me, and underneath it, I wore the pearl earrings he gave me for the first year. I sat on the bench at the entrance for 2 hours. Hechuan's phone was constantly off. His WeChat messages went unnoticed. At 10:58, I called Brother Hechuan, Wang Lei. There was a long silence on the other end, followed by awkward responses. Sister-in-law. Brother Chuan, that in turn slipped and fell while taking a shower last night. He twisted his foot. Brother Chuan stayed with him all night at the hospital. What about now? Now, he's making bone broth for her in the new room. I hung up the phone. I held the phone too tightly, and the pearl earrings pricked my palm, causing a small drop of blood to seep out. At the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, a couple just came out of the ceremony. The girl held up the red certificate high, and the boy hugged her from behind and turned her around. I stood up, smoothing out the wrinkles in my coat, and called a taxi. Please take me to Jinsi Wedding Services. The manager of the wedding company, Mr. Zhou, seemed to freeze for a moment when he saw me coming alone. Miss Lin, is there anything I need to adjust regarding the package? Where is Mr. He? I want to cancel it. Oh, the $1 million package, I'll cancel it completely. I'll deduct the penalty amount, and the rest will be transferred to my account. Manager Zhou stood there, stunned. I didn't give her time to react. I took out the contract from my bag, found the termination clause, and showed it to her. Let's go according to the contract. The refund will be processed within 3 working days. She opened her mouth to say something, but I added, please write in the notes. The groom has cheated. The wedding has been cancelled. It can be used as a funeral expense. Manager Zhou's hand with the pen trembled slightly. After leaving the wedding planning company, the autumn wind blew into my collar, making my neck hurt. I transferred the remaining money along with all the savings I had accumulated over the years into a dormant account. The password was based on today's date. It was originally an anniversary date. But now it's a day to remember. The phone rang again. This time, it was Agent Lee, his voice trembling with excitement. Miss Lin, there is a Mr. Jiang who has reviewed the property and is willing to sign the contract today in full. But he has one request. He wants to purchase all the decorative items as well. He can add more money for those items. What do you think? I stood at the entrance of the wedding planning company, looking up at the gray sky. Okay. Let's schedule a meeting with him tomorrow to go over the details of the new house. The next afternoon, at 2 o'clock, I brought Agent Lee and the buyer down to the entrance of the new house. The buyer's surname was Jiang, and his name was Jiang Yuzhou. Before signing the contract, I took a quick look at him. I found him somewhat familiar, but I didn't think much of it. He wore a dark gray cashmere coat, seemed serious, and didn't say much throughout the process. He only glanced at me once while looking at the property details. When we reached the 17th floor, before even stepping out of the elevator, we heard loud music and noisy voices coming from inside. I opened the door with my fingerprint. A mixture of alcohol, cigarette smoke, and cheap perfume filled the air as I stepped inside. There were about 10 people in the living room, with bottles of alcohol scattered all over the floor. The Italian handmade carpet I had chosen was stained with red wine, leaving a large red mark on it. He Chuan was standing next to the coffee table, serving champagne to the crowd. Come on. Come on. Today is Chu Chu's moving party and birthday party, let's get ready to have a great time. Su Chu Chu was sitting right in the middle of the sofa. She wore a crown adorned with diamond crystals on her head, holding a glass in her left hand. In her right hand, she held a huge teddy bear. Her makeup was so elaborate that it seemed she was ready to walk down the red carpet. The entire living room was decorated with balloons and ribbons. On the walls, there was a row of letters that read, "Welcome home, Chu Chu. This is my home. No, this is the house I bought with all my savings." Su Chu Chu was the first to see me. The smile on her face disappeared for a moment, and then she quickly turned into that characteristic, timid expression. She put down her glass and hid behind Hechuan, pulling at his clothes. "Jia. Please don't get angry with brother Hechuan. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have let them come here." When Hechuan turned around and saw me, his eyebrows immediately furrowed. Then he saw me along with Jiang Yuzhou and Brother Li behind me. "Lin Jiyu, why did you bring outsiders here? It's Chu Chu's birthday. Please don't cause any more trouble." I didn't say anything. Li Gu subconsciously took a step back. But Jiang Yuzhou didn't move at all. He simply glanced at the mess on the ground. He Chuan stepped forward, standing in front of Su Chu Chu, pointing at me with his finger. "I also contributed to this house. Don't think that just because your name is on it, you can do whatever you want." What had he done to contribute? The down payment was 1,200,000 yuan. Money I saved over 5 years of work. The monthly payment is 8,500 yuan, which is deducted from my salary every month. The money he promised to pay for the decorative items turned out to be no more than 40,000 yuan in total. I don't have the time to calculate this with him. Jiang Yuzhou spoke softly behind me, so quietly that only I could hear him. "Is this why you rushed to sell the house?" I nodded. He didn't say anything else, but the coldness in his eyes grew stronger. I led Jiang Yuzhou around the crowd towards the study. The door to the study wasn't damaged yet. The property certificate was kept in a safe. I entered the password and retrieved the document. Then, together with Jiang Yuzhou, we laid the contract out on the desk. Brother Li served as a witness, confirming each item by hand, signing and pressing his fingerprint. The whole process took less than 15 minutes. When we left the study, the people in the living room were still making a fuss. Su Chu Chu was singing birthday songs on her phone. He Chuan rushed out and grabbed my arm. "Lin Jiua, what do you mean by this?" His tone was authoritative, as if he was teaching a disobedient child. "Stop it. Tonight is Chu Chu's birthday. You should stay and cut the cake with us. I'll find time tomorrow to go with you to get the certificate." Time to find time. He really meant finding time. I looked down at the hand of Hechuan on my arm. The scent of Su Chu Chu's expensive perfume remained between my fingers, a sweet, cloying smell, like expired cream cake. My stomach suddenly turned around. Getting married? I broke his fingers apart one by one. "Hechuan, the marriage is cancelled." He was stunned, then laughed. "What's the matter again? Just because I organized a birthday party for Chu Chu?" Light footsteps came from behind me. Su Chu Chu came out with a plate in her hands, filled with a cut cake, with a candle stuck in the cream. She smiled as she walked up to Hechuan and smeared some cream onto his face. "Brother Chuan, make a wish." Hechuan wasn't upset at all. Instead, he laughed and used his finger to scrape some cream onto her nose. The two of them started playing around in front of me. Su Chu Chu laughed enough, then suddenly turned to look at me. Her eyes were slightly red, and her voice sounded almost trembling with frustration. "Sister, if you don't like it that I live in the main bedroom, I'll move to the secondary bedroom tonight. Don't reject Brother Chuan. He really loves you." Her voice wasn't loud, but everyone in the living room could hear her clearly. The guys around her changed their expressions, showing a mocking tone of making a big deal out of nothing. He Chuan's expression also became serious. "Lin Jiua, can't you stop being unreasonable? Chu Chu has already given you enough attention. What do you want more?" He raised his voice, as if trying to speak loudly enough for everyone to hear. "We've postponed getting married for a few days already. Are you really that stubborn? If you keep acting like this, maybe it's better not to get married at all." The living room was quiet for a second. Su Chu Chu covered her mouth, with a look of "it's all my fault." Several men exchanged glances while holding their glasses, with one muttering, "It's been 7 years, and you still act like this." I looked around the room. The shoe cabinet in the entrance was designed after I drew 3 drafts for the carpenter to make. The height of the kitchen countertop was adjusted according to my height. On the balcony, there was also the mint I planted last month. There were 2 indentations on the sofa, and the cushions were scattered on the floor, covered in dirt. I turned my gaze back and calmly opened my bag, touching the engagement ring. It was given to me by Kei-chan 3 years ago. It wasn't expensive, just a combination of small diamonds. But I've worn it for 3 years without ever taking it off. I took it off from my ring finger. Kei-chan watched my movement, and the anger on his face suddenly replaced by a look of panic. Chi-yu, what are you doing? I didn't look at him. I turned around and threw the ring into the trash can at the door. As you wished, Kei-chan. We're done. The entire room was silent. Su Chuchu's hand, holding the cake, froze in midair. Hachuan stood still, his expression changing from anger to shock, and then to a state of utter disbelief. His lips moved a few times, but he said nothing. I picked up my bag and walked into the elevator. In the last second before the door closed, I heard Hachuan grunt coldly behind me. Let her go. Within 3 days, she will definitely come back crying, begging me to stay. Early the next morning, sunlight streamed into the master bedroom through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Kei-chuan wrapped himself in the blanket and stretched lazily. Su Chuchu was still lying next to him, not awake yet. He turned over, instinctively checking his phone for any missed calls. There were none. Lin Jiu's profile picture remained quietly displayed in the chat window. The last message he received was from 3 days ago, when she said okay. He chuckled, then tossed the phone back onto the pillow. Let's see how long you can last, he thought to himself. Su Chuchu opened her eyes, her voice muffled and sleepy. Brother Chuan, will you take me to see that bag today? You promised me yesterday. Kei-chuan patted her face. Wait until the afternoon. I'll. A loud noise erupted. The door lock was broken by some external force, and metal fragments scattered all over the floor. 3 burly men rushed in first, followed by workers in blue uniforms from the moving company, pushing empty boxes into the room one after another. Hachuan sprang up from the bed, wearing only his underwear, his face red with anger. Who the hell let you guys in here? This is trespassing someone's home. I'm going to call the police. The last person to enter was Jiang Yujo. He wore a black suit and stood in the middle of the messy living room. Hachuan tried to push him away, but 2 strong men held him back, one on each side. Hachuan was pressed against the wall of the entrance, his face pressed against the cold tiles. Have you lost your mind? Who the hell are you? Jiang Yujo took out a document from his briefcase, unfolded it, and slapped Hachuan in the face. Property ownership change certificate. The ownership of this house has been transferred yesterday, and I am now the owner. Hachuan's pupils contracted sharply. That's impossible. This house belongs to Lin Jiu. Yes. Jiang Yujo retrieved the documents, his tone remaining unchanged. She sold them to me. Su Chuchu rushed out of the bedroom, wrapped in a blanket, and screamed as she saw the scene. Jiang Yujo glanced at her, then gestured with his chin towards the people from the moving company. All personal items should be removed within 10 minutes. Anything that isn't part of the construction work should be disposed of as trash. You can't do this. Su Chuchu rushed towards the shopping bag lying next to the coffee table, which contained the limited edition handbag that Hachuan had bought for her last night. The workers carelessly threw the bag along with the scattered clothes into boxes, then carried them away from the door. Hachuan couldn't get free, his forehead bulging with veins, his voice hoarse. Lin Jiu, get out here. He desperately tried to pick up his phone and dial a number. After 3 beeps, a cold mechanical sound rang out. The number you called has been added to the blacklist. A red exclamation mark appeared at the top of the WeChat chat window. All social media platforms were blocked. The strong man let go, and Hachuan fell to the ground. 10 minutes later, he and Su Chuchu were pushed out of the door. Su Chuchu stood barefoot on the marble floor of the hallway, trembling while holding that cardboard box. Hachuan wore the same t-shirt and shorts from last night. He was barefoot, with his hair in a messy mess. The neighbor across the street opened the door and stared at them, with a tone of disdain in her voice. Oh, isn't that the same place where parties are always held? They were kicked out, weren't they? Hachuan's face turned from white to red, then to blue. The cold autumn wind rushed into the hallway, and he couldn't stop shaking. He snatched the phone from Su Chuchu's hands and rushed to the rental house where I live. The iron door was slightly open. He pushed the door open and rushed inside. The 16-square-meter room was completely empty. There was no computer on the table, no clothes in the closet, and even the trash can was emptied. All that remained was a photo on the windowsill. It was a photo of him hugging Su Chu Chu in the living room of the new house. Whoever took this photo doesn't matter anymore. On the photo, a huge cross was drawn with red paint. He Chuan held the photo in his hands trembling violently. His knees gave way, and he knelt down in the empty rental room. The rooms in the fast hotel were filled with a stinky smell. Su Chu Chu leaned against the head of the bed, scrolling through her phone, and, with a disgusted expression, wiped the pillow with a tissue. Brother Chuan, this place is too dirty. Can't you find a better place to stay? He Chuan sat by the window, his eyes filled with bloodshot veins. He hadn't slept at all night. You have to put up with it for now. Put up with it. Su Chu Chu's voice rose in pitch. I've given up so much for you, and now you're living in such a place. He Chuan suddenly stood up, shouting at her with a tone that was almost disgustful. That's enough. Can't you stop talking? Su Chu Chu was shocked by his words, her eyes turning red as she huddled in the corner of the bed, silent. He Chuan didn't comfort her. He grabbed his coat and stormed out of the room, heading straight to my company. The receptionist was a new intern who didn't know him. Could you tell me which department Lin Jiue works in? The intern flipped through the system and shook her head. Lin Jiue resigned yesterday morning. Please ask someone else. He Chuan was momentarily stunned. He didn't believe it, so he walked around the front desk and rushed in. When the security guards stopped him, a few female colleagues who passed by stopped and began talking among themselves. It must be him, right? The ex-boyfriend of Sister Jiue. I heard she dumped all her belongings in the cleaning bin before she left. You see those piles of second-hand goods there? Their laughter felt like needles piercing his ears. He Chuan was pulled out of the building by the security guards, and stumbled onto the car. The person who started the engine could barely hold onto the steering wheel. He went to Jinsi Wedding Services. The moment the glass door was opened, Manager Zhou recognized him, with a subtle expression on his face. Mr. He is here to collect the final payment. It's already been done. When did you do it? The day before yesterday, by Ms. Lin herself. He Chuan leaned on the counter. Did she say anything else? Manager Zhou hesitated for a moment, then handed him the notes he needed. The groom had an affair, and the wedding had to be cancelled. It can be considered a funeral expense after all. 13 words. Kawaku stared at those words for a long time, so long that Manager Zhou wondered if he was frozen in place. Then, his legs seemed to have lost their bones, and he slumped down on the steps in front of the wedding planning company. Passers-by walked around him, couples holding hands, entered to discuss wedding plans, casting strange looks at him as they passed by. He kept his head down, his phone falling to the ground, with one corner of the screen broken. 7 years. More than 500 days and nights. With her first salary, she treated him to a Japanese meal that cost about 300 yen per person. She worked overtime until 2 in the morning, and he went to pick her up. She fell asleep in the passenger seat, still thinking about the details of the plan. She had saved money for 5 years to buy a house. On the day of signing the contract, she smiled and said, Kawaku, we have a home now. When did he start to take these things for granted? Was it when Su Chu Chu first looked up at him and said, Brother Chuan, you're really amazing? Or was it when she said with red eyes, Sister, I'm so lucky to have a boyfriend like you? The screen of his phone lit up, showing a message from a mutual friend. Brother, how are you? I saw Lin Jiue's name in a group chat. There's a business dinner tonight at Jiangqing Jiehua Hotel. It seems like she will be there. He Chuan got up from the ground, wiped his face, and immediately started driving his car. The grand banquet hall of Jiehua Hotel is illuminated by crystal lights, resembling a hanging galaxy. I wore a bright red satin dress, and replaced my earrings with new ruby ones. Previously, He Chuan thought my dress was too flashy, saying, You're not a socialite, why wear such a red dress? But now, I feel that the dress really suits me. This evening is the annual gala of the Jiangqing Design Association. I was invited by a former colleague to expand my network. After leaving my job, I plan to start my own studio. I was discussing business opportunities with a client director when suddenly, the crowd became chaotic. I turned around and saw He Chuan squeezing through the security area, stumbling through the crowd. He wore the same t-shirt from yesterday, with green stubble on his chin. and his eyes were red like those of a rabbit. Compared to the other guests in suits and ties, he looked like a beggar who had broken into a palace. He rushed straight at me, trying to grab my wrist. I stepped back. His hands fell empty, and he staggered slightly. "Gu." His voice was hoarse, as if filled with sand. "Let's talk. Please. Just 5 minutes." I stared at him without expression. A hand reached out from the side, gently blocking my path. Jiang Yujo had somehow stood beside me, his head half a head taller than He Chuan. "Sir, the banquet does not welcome unauthorized attendees." He Chuan's gaze swept back and forth between him and me, his pupils suddenly tightening. He recognized him. "It's you. You bought that house, right?" His voice suddenly raised, his fingers trembling as he pointed at Jiang Yujo. "Lin Jiyu, was it because of this man that you sold the house? When did you start dating him?" People around us turned to look at us. I didn't answer his questions. I turned around and walked towards the projection area in the corner of the banquet hall. I took out a USB drive from my bag and plugged it into the device. The large screen lit up. The image shows surveillance footage from a new house's living room. He Chuan is wearing a crown on Su Chu Chu, while she reclines against his neck, acting affectionately. The two of them are lying together on the sofa I've chosen. He kisses her forehead, and she propels her legs onto his. There is no sound in the footage, but each frame is so clear that it almost burns the eyes. In the corner, only a few people notice the projection, but the news spreads like ripples. Whisperings, pointing and gesturing with hands. Disgusting looks from all directions converge on He Chuan. His face turns from red to white, and his body trembles violently. "Turn it off. Lin Jiua, please turn it off." I turn off the projection and walk back to him. Suddenly, he grabs my arm with such force that it hurts. His eyes are red. "Jiua, I know I was wrong. It was just an accident. We've been together for 7 years. Do we really have to end it now?" I look down at his hand, at those fingers that once touched my cheeks. Now, his fingers are tightly gripping my flesh, and there's still the scent of Su Chu Chu's perfume between his fingers. "He Chuan." I said his name out loud. "When you do charity, you should have thought of me, so that I could fulfill your wishes." I pulled my arm back and turned towards the handkerchief that Jiang Yujo was handing me. Security guards stepped forward from both sides, holding He Chuan's arms and pulling him away. He struggled to look back at me, shouting my name over and over again. His voice became fainter and fainter. In that moment when the cold wind rushed in from outside the door, I saw Su Chu Chu standing behind the glass door of the hotel lobby, watching everything happen. Her eyes weren't filled with sorrow or fear, they were filled with calculation. When He Chuan was thrown out of the hotel door by the security guards, Su Chu Chu was standing behind a pillar in the lobby. Her expression was as cold as that of a stranger. That night, when he returned to the hotel, He Chuan carried Su Chu Chu's suitcase to the door, his voice icy. "You can go now. Your involvement in my matters is over." Su Chu Chu didn't move. She leaned against the head of the bed, carefully taking out a piece of paper from her bag. "Brother Chuan, please take a look at this before deciding whether to send me away or not." He Chuan took the paper. It was a prenatal test result. There was an upward arrow next to the HCG value. His blood rushed to his head in an instant. "That's impossible. Do you know the chances? You know best." Su Chu Chu raised her eyes, with a cold smile on her lips, a smile he had never seen before. "Brother Chuan, you can't just leave me here to have an abortion alone, can you?" He Chuan trembled all over. He remembered those nights, remembering that he hadn't always taken the necessary precautions. "What do you want?" "I don't want anything." Su Chu Chu's voice regained that soft, melodious tone. "I'm just scared, as a girl." He Chuan felt an unprecedented sense of nausea. Finally, he managed to see this face clearly. The softness was fake. The tears were forced. "Su Chu Chu, what exactly do you want?" Su Chu Chu tilted her head slightly. "Not much. 500,000 as payment for breaking up, and then I'll disappear." He Chuan sneered. "What can I give you 500,000? Then I'll pay it back slowly." Su Chu Chu yawned, then picked up her phone and flicked through its screen. "By the way, I've recorded everything you said just now. Those words like 'women are always busy with things.' I shouldn't have bothered with you back then. And also about how you helped me get through the back doors at the company. What if I accidentally post those messages online?" He Chuan's pupils contracted sharply. He rushed forward to grab the phone, but Su Chu Chu skillfully dodged him, then smiled and shoved the phone into her chest. It's useless to try to steal it, there's a backup on my phone. The next day, Chuan's nightmare became reality. Su Chu posted the edited recording on Weibo and various workplace forums, along with a heart-wrenching article describing her experiences. The title read, "A 7-year affair with an intern. The real face of a senior executive at a company in Jiangcheng." The article included audio clips, records of Chuan sending her gifts, and screenshots of his attempts to use relationships to get her involved. The comment sections were filled with outrageous comments. That same afternoon, Chuan's company issued an internal notice, ordering him to stop working and undergo investigation. His phone was flooded with messages from colleagues and insults from strangers. In his social media circles, those who once treated him like a brother now blocked him. He tried to call me desperately, but the system still refused him coldly. 3 days later, the company officially fired him. The reason given was serious violation of professional ethics, which damages the company's image. Compensation? No. After all, it was his own violation that led to this situation. On the day I left the company building, it was raining. Chuan stood in the rain, receiving a call from Su Chu. "Brother Chuan, when will you pay me the 500,000? If you don't pay now, I'll go to your hometown in Jiangcheng and hang banners there." He didn't have an umbrella. Rainwater flowed down his forehead and into his eyes. What he didn't know was that, across the street, under an black umbrella, someone else was watching this scene unfold. I just stood by the street tree, watching this scene of mutual destruction quietly. Then I turned around and left, without any trace of reluctance. It rained heavily for 3 days in Jiangcheng. In the early hours of the 4th day, I was awakened by the sound of doorbells. I walked to the window and looked down. There was a figure kneeling in the rain. Chuan. He was wearing a wet white shirt. He was kneeling on the concrete ground below my apartment, holding something in his hands above his head. The rain had soaked him completely. His knees were submerged in water, and his body trembled uncontrollably. I pulled the curtains aside and went back to bed. The alarm went off at 7 in the morning. After washing up and changing my clothes, I went downstairs under an umbrella. He was still kneeling there. His lips were purple. His face was pale, like a corpse that had not yet completely expired. When he saw me coming out, he suddenly raised his head like being shocked by an electric shock, and crawled towards me. "Gu." His voice was harsh, like sandpaper grinding rusty iron. "Gu, she destroyed me. I have nothing left." He spread his hands, with the engagement ring from the trash can still in his palm. The fragments of the diamond ring had bent at one corner, cutting into his palm. Blood mixed with rainwater. "I know who truly loves me. Please, give me another chance." He slapped his own face. Another slap. He kept slapping his face, each blow leaving deep marks, making his cheeks swollen and deformed. I was blind. I'm not human anymore. "Gu, you can hit me or scold me, but please don't leave me." I stood under the umbrella, looking down at him. Rainwater slipped down from the edges of the umbrella, dripping onto his forehead. He used to be a proud person. In the company, he had great influence. In the circle of friends, he was admired by everyone. But when he showed off in front of me, his eyes were filled with disdain. Now he was kneeling in the puddle, his face covered in mud and water, like a dog that had been repeatedly trampled. I squatted down and looked him straight in the eyes. "Kawakawa." His eyes suddenly lit up, as if he thought I might soften my stance. "It wasn't she who destroyed you. It was your cheap and excessive hypocrisy that destroyed you. You enjoyed her admiration, so you should bear the consequences of her greed." His eyes shattered in that moment. I stood up, pulled out a stack of papers from my bag, and threw them in front of him. They were the invoices from the wedding company, detailed lists of every penny I had spent over those 7 years to support this relationship. They also included the lists of expenses that he had paid on behalf of Su Chu. The rain soaked the paper, and the ink spread across it. Over those 7 years, I've used the money I spent on selling my house to get my money back, including the interest. I straightened up and gave him one last look. "As for you, just get stuck in that mud, with your worthless affairs still around you." A black sedan stopped in front of me. Jiang Yuzhou got out of the driver's seat and opened the door for me. Chuan got up from the ground, stumbling as he tried to catch up. The door closed. The engine started. The wheels rolled over the puddles, causing mud to splash everywhere, covering Chuan's face and body completely. In the Rearview mirror. He tried to chase after me for a while, but eventually fell to the ground, kneeling in the rain, emitting a cry that sounded nothing like a human voice. I turned my gaze away and fastened my seatbelt. Jiang Yuzhou handed me a cup of warm American coffee. Are you okay? I've never been this good. 6 months later. Jiangcheng, October. My independent design studio has been open for 3 months now, and we have already completed 12 commercial space projects. The renovation of Jiang Yuzhou's headquarters is the biggest project we've worked on so far. Just the design costs alone have been enough to expand our team from 3 to 8 people. That afternoon, I finished work early, and Jiang Yuzhou and I agreed to go see the location for our new project. As we passed by the central bridge, Jiang Yuzhou stopped to wait at the red light. Below the bridge, there was a line of people handing out leaflets, all wearing uniform yellow vests. The one at the far end, with messy hair and a shaved beard, looked at least 30 pounds thinner. It was He Chuan. He mechanically handed out the leaflets to passersby, but 9 out of 10 people refused to take them. He didn't show any reaction to the rejections, continuing to reach out for more leaflets with a vacant look in his eyes. I heard that Su Chu finally got him to pay 300,000 yuan. He had no money, so he took out loans through online platforms, and the interest kept adding up, pushing him deeper into debt. No one in the industry dared to use him anymore. Even when people mentioned his name in conversations, they would just shake their heads in disapproval. The man who once offered his master bedroom to others now can't even rent a decent rental house. Just before the red light turned green, it seemed like he sensed something. He looked up. His gaze crossed the traffic flow, directly hitting my direction. His hand relaxed, and the flyers scattered onto the ground. He was struck as if by a lightning bolt, his mouth open, eyes wide. Then, instinctively, he stepped back, tripping over the steps and falling to the ground. The colleagues who were distributing flyers glanced at him with disdain and walked away. The green light came on. The car smoothly drove past the overpass. I didn't turn around. I didn't even give a sidelong glance. Jiang Yuzhou stepped on the accelerator and merged into the traffic flow, asking casually, "What were you looking at?" I lowered the sun visor and straightened my windblown hair. Outside the window, the sunlight was perfect. The sky in October in Jiangcheng was clear and cloudless. "Nothing," I replied. I laughed once, then picked up the project documents on the passenger seat and opened them. "It's just a bunch of environmentally harmful junk. Let's go." To celebrate our new project, the car drove along the long street, towards the buildings in the distance. In the rearview mirror, the overpass and that awkward figure became a tiny dot, eventually disappearing beyond sight. It was like a past that had completely decayed, scattered away by the wind, leaving no trace behind. End of text.